I want to challenge you. If you're missing purpose, here it is. If you want to follow Jesus and that's how you're going to find purpose, it is an action verb. It's not something that you sit around and follow Jesus. Following requires you to move, requires you to obey. And maybe if I might suggest that our sense of lack of purpose may have to do with our lack of obedience. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Andrew Roman Show. I'm so excited that you've tuned in. Thank you for watching. We're starting episode 113. So, wait, no. Is that right? No, it's season 13, episode 121. Man, I'm like losing track here, but it's been great season so far. Last week, if you missed it, I gotta tell you, it was intense. It was a very intense episode. I'd say it was hot, like so hot, like the weather we've been having so far. I don't know where you live, but I live in Texas, and the weather's been abysmal. Now, of course, I'm sure that there are other places that are pretty bad, but man, the weather's just been terrible here. And I complain because I don't like super hot weather. Although here comes the summer, right? No warning, we skipped over spring. Thanks a lot. But yeah, it's been so hot. And last week's episode was even hotter, man. That thing was a hot potato. Nobody wanted to talk about it. But that's why we talked about it on this show. We talked about the lie of transgenderism and answered some questions, some controversial questions, like whether or not people can really change sexes. Are there more than two genders? What is the truth behind the transgender movement? Who is John Money? Crazy stuff. So definitely check it out right now on YouTube and available on all podcast platforms. So today we're kind of chilling out a little bit. Again, we're not going shallow because that's just definitely not part of the show, because we're going to be talking about purpose. Now, I really hope that you're paying attention in this episode. It's not going to be very long at all. But the whole purpose of this, get the pun? Sorry, whenever I make I do an accidental pun or even an accidental rhyme, it's just I have to acknowledge it. Yes, the purpose of this episode about purpose is not to have a theological or even a philosophical discussion about purpose, and because I love talking about deep things and very abstract ideas, but today I want to get extremely practical, and I want to give you a sure path to find and live your purpose here on earth. That's right. If you Google how to live my purpose on YouTube, you're going to get so many different results. But it's interesting that so many different results and so many answers, yet we're still searching for it many times. I mean, I can't be the only one who sometimes laid on the edge of my bed and been like, God, what am I supposed to do? Is what I'm doing right now the right thing? Is it the wrong thing? Am I wasting my time? Am I investing my time correctly? I mean, I can't be the only one that's done that, because for the last, I would say, let's see, I'm 23, so there's Gen Z and the millennials. So I would say the previous generation, finding your purpose was kind of easy. Just it's your purpose are your obligations. It's your responsibilities. That's about it. Are you a dad? There you go. You got your purpose pretty lined up there. You are to father your children. Are you an employee? Your purpose is to work there from 9 to 5, etc. There's this very funny TikTok, the difference, the generations talking about work. What was it? A boomer was if you hire me, I'll work for you for 50 years and never complain, and then I'll die. And then I think it was Gen Xers, whatever else. And then the millennials are like, if you hire me, I'm gonna need some mental health breaks and then some paid vacation, etc. And then there was the Gen Zers who totally different work ethic, if any work ethic. But that's so true. Even in the way that we chase and we try to find purpose, before it was so much on what you did. And I admit there was a little bit of we kind of overextended that way, because then we focus so much on what people did that we never really focus on them and how they were feeling. So then here comes millennials and said, hey guys, these work conditions are not, we can't make this work whatsoever. And we have to focus more on our mental health and focus on our emotions and focus on how we're feeling. And in principle, that's actually pretty good and pretty healthy. But then we overextended that way as well to now like everything has kind of become about us. And now it's like, do I feel like going to work? Before that wasn't even the question. Hey, you got to go to work. You're going to show up on time. But now it's like, do I really feel like it? I need a break. I need a break for myself. I need a break for my health. And I need a break because you know what? For me to be at my top, I just can't be so stressed out. So I'm just not gonna. I'm not gonna go into work tomorrow or the next couple of days. And of course, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I think you can agree with me that that's kind of been a little bit now the idea, because what has happened now is that our new purpose, and I've seen this in several videos that people record, and they do street interviews and everything, and people say when they are talking about purpose, I've seen this many times. People just say, "Have you heard this before? Just do whatever makes you happy." Nobody can decide for you, right? It's your life. Well, they say, your purpose is just to kind of discover yourself a little bit. Discover yourself, discover what you like, and at the end of the day, just find what makes you happy. And that's it. Well, that's interesting. I mean, if it was really just like that, and it was like, okay, just discover yourself and find what makes you happy, I feel like there would be a lot more happy people in the world, but unfortunately, they're not. Because as I will share throughout this episode, I believe that that's a little bit of deception. Now, again, don't misunderstand me, as I did an episode at the beginning of the year called The Problem with Self-Help. And that doesn't mean that self-help or a mental health awareness is bad or inherently wrong. I don't think so. I think it's actually quite healthy. But we have, I would say, tipped the scales a little bit too much to then focus on ourselves. So this is, let me kind of phrase this way, because this is why we're talking about purpose. Our sense of lack of purpose, I think, has to do with our focus on ourselves. Now, I'm not talking about this over like egoistic, always thinking about yourself, and it's just so obvious. No, I'm talking about mostly like a position of your heart where you're like, you might not even realize it, but almost everything around you becomes like a mirror. Let me explain that. Did you ever, let's call it the Snow White curse. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Everything in our life kind of becomes a little bit of a mirror, a way to just see ourselves, a way for the attention to be on us. So whether it's a relationship, the relationships are, what can those relationships do to me, and what can they give me? It's not so much of what can I pour in and invest in these relationships. No. What can they do for me? And if they're not doing what I want them to do, then I will label them toxic and just cut them off. Or maybe it's in school. Maybe your whole focus on school and getting better grades or getting a better position in your sports team is mostly just focused on you, on getting more attention, getting maybe a girl or whatever the case may be. It's like a mirror. You're just walking around with a mirror, just always looking at yourself, always thinking about yourself. And it might not be extremely obvious, but what ends up happening is that this shifting of focus to us versus to others actually has to do with our sense of lack of purpose. Let me give you a personal example. So it must have been, I'm going to say about 3-4 weeks ago, when I was sitting down outside, I was talking to my dad, and we were talking about the podcast and different topics that we were going to talk about. And I kind of shared with, it was a certain episode that just didn't really do very well compared to other episodes. And I was just kind of sharing to my dad a little bit of the frustration. So I was like, hey, I just don't get it. I do this episode and it doesn't seem to meet my expectations, and just kind of shared a little bit my frustrations. And I'll be honest, in that moment, I kind of felt like I lost the purpose of this podcast, where I just kind of felt a little purposeless a little bit. And I went to bed, I woke up the next morning, and I felt like God showed me what happened. God showed me why I felt like I had no purpose. Because I was stuck in a hallway of mirrors. Or let's call it a labyrinth of mirrors. I think there is actually like a hall of mirrors, right? Where there are all these mirrors, and all you can see is yourself in different angles and different perspectives, but all you can see is yourself. And what happens in a hall of mirrors is that you get confused and there's almost no direction. It's extremely hard to know where to go, because each mirror just reflects you, which only reflects one thing. It doesn't reflect a clear direction. It doesn't define a clear path forward or anything like that. You actually lose direction. And when you lose direction, you can't have purpose, because purpose leads you towards something. That's what telos is. In the Greek, when they were talking about meaning and purpose, telos was like there was an end mark, there was an end result, something that you're aiming for. I think a lot of the times the reason that we don't find or we feel purposeless in our lives is not necessarily because we don't have purpose, as I will explain, that there's a clear divine purpose actually for our lives that you can apply even today, and you can kind of now overcome that feeling of purposelessness. I think the reason we have that feeling to begin with is because we're almost in a hall of mirrors. We see everything as it's all about me. It's all about what I can get from it. It's what people can do for me. It's about my accomplishments, my fame, my clout. It's about my time and my opportunities. Even in the Christian world, we do that. We walk around with mirrors. Now, we might translate it to Christianese, but we still walk around with mirrors, just so involved in ourselves. We call it my calling, my purpose, my gifts. And if for some reason someone doesn't use my gifts, then you feel like there's no purpose. Oh God, why won't the worship team use my calling and my gifts and my talents? Don't you know? Yeah, because maybe it's not your season. That's it. And then we're like, no, you know what? I'm going to go to a different church because they're actually going to appreciate me correctly. And because we're holding up all these mirrors, we feel purposeless. But in fact, there is a purpose right in front of us. If we would just actually put down that mirror, we would be able to see what's in front of us. And that's what happened to me. I had made the podcast almost a mirror. I hadn't really noticed I'd done that until it came to that point when I was having that conversation with my dad. And I realized, wait a second. The reason I feel like I don't have enough purpose is because this is not meeting my expectations, and I'm almost using the podcast like a mirror and just looking at myself and being like, ooh, if an episode does really good, oh man, am I looking good? Sheesh, look at you, handsome. And if an episode doesn't do so well, I'm like, man, I suck. This has no purpose. This has no meaning. Have you felt that way? With whatever project you're working on, with whatever's in your hands, have you felt almost like a loss of purpose? Well, I can bet you that happens whenever we turn it about and we make things about ourselves. When we make things a mirror, things that maybe were a blessing that God has given to you as an opportunity to bless others, to honor Him, and you've turned it into a mirror. So I really want to challenge you to think about what in your life have you turned into a mirror. Maybe it could be something inherently good, like a blessing. It could be your family, a relationship. It could be your education. It can be a certain talent that you have, or it can be an ambition that you have. And now you've turned it into a mirror. And because you've turned it into a mirror, it has clouded your judgment. And sooner or later, you're going to feel purposeless. But that's where I want to introduce where we find our purpose. Again, I told you this was not going to be your average episode about purpose and saying, guys, just follow your heart and do whatever makes you happy. Okay, that only takes you to a certain point, but I actually want to give you the guarantee of living in purpose. And this is where it comes to. You see, this has to do with actually something that Jesus said in Luke chapter 9. Because I'm just going to, quick caveat, as they say. Is caveat a French word? A quick caveat for this conversation. Yeah, no, I can't fake French at all. One day, I promise, I will speak French. And I've kind of put a little bit of a pause. I realize with my language endeavors, I put a pause. I still have, I don't know if I told you guys, but I still have a Chinese, they call it conversational Chinese something program. I know. I'm that guy. Yes, I'm that guy that just got this Chinese program. And did I do a lesson? I did do a lesson. Do I remember much of it? No. But one day, trust me, one day I will be fluent in that Chinese, and I will do a whole episode in Chinese. Okay, maybe not in the whole episode, but okay, you know what? We're getting distracted. Back to finding purpose. So in Luke chapter 9, Jesus says something so important, that this is actually the groundwork to you finding purpose today. Because I'll tell you this. You can find meaning in good things in the world. You can find meaning in your work. You can find meaning in doing something that's above yourself and bigger than yourself. That's all great. But ultimate purpose is only found in Jesus. And I'll explain here why. In Luke chapter 9, verses 23, this is what Jesus says. And I want you to Pay very close attention. He said this. He said to the crowd, "If any of you wants to follow me, you must give up your own way, deny yourself, take up your cross daily, and follow me." This is interesting. I think here's the problem why many of us are lacking purpose. Because maybe we've misunderstood it. And we've thought that purpose is something that we find. That purpose is something that we sit down in an armchair and think, let me think about my purpose. God, what is my purpose in this life? And we think it's almost like a theological, almost like a mental exercise trying to find this abstract meaning of your purpose. But here Jesus says, if you're a Christian and you want to follow me, if you want to find your purpose is not actually just found or something understood. It's actually lived. And let me explain that. He says this, if any of you wants to be my follower, he must deny himself, pick up his cross daily, and follow me. I haven't heard anyone kind of mention this when it comes to purpose, but this is your purpose. If you're missing purpose in your life, here it is. Be a follower of Jesus, deny yourself, pick up your cross, and follow him. I know too many Christians who feel like, God, I just want to do something for you. What do I do? Reveal to me, speak to me a prophetic word. Amazing. But here's Jesus already telling you, hey, if you want to be my disciple, if you want to be my follower, then you must give up your own way. Can I say it a different way? You must put down your mirror. You must put down those selfish ambitions and the things that have been clouding your judgment and deny yourself. You got to put down that mirror, pick up your cross, and follow him. I want to challenge you. If you're missing purpose, here it is. If you want to follow Jesus and that's how you're going to find purpose, it is an action verb. It's not something that you sit around and follow Jesus. Following requires you to move, requires you to obey. And maybe if I might suggest that our sense of lack of purpose may have to do with our lack of obedience. Because the Christian faith is an active faith. You're not a Christian by just sitting down in a chair every Sunday and on Wednesday nights for youth group. That doesn't make you a Christian. When you're a Christian, it's because you've now given your life to God and you've followed him. A lot of us kind of have God on speed dial in case something goes wrong, but besides that, we got our ticket to heaven in our wallet, and God, I'll see you when I need you. But that's not what Jesus said. Jesus said, hey, if you want to be my follower, if you want to have purpose, and you want to have meaning, and you want to have a fulfilled life, here's what you have to do. Put down your mirror. Put down whatever that you have used in order to put attention to yourself, to self-glorify yourself. Put that down, deny yourself, and follow me daily. I want to break down this verse before we start wrapping up this episode, because it says this, if any one of you, so that means the invitation is completely open to whoever would like to come into the kingdom of God. It's if any one of you. It doesn't say if only the pastors want to, or the ministry leaders, or the spiritual leaders, or the church figures. No. It says if any one of you wants to be his follower. See the word follower. He doesn't say believer, because believing in Jesus, that Jesus exists, it's not enough. Even the disciples know that Jesus is God. Did you know that? The disciples know that Jesus is God. I meant to say the demons know that Jesus is God. The demons know that Jesus is Lord and King of Kings. The only problem is that they're not submitted to him. That's the difference. They're not actually his followers. They believe, they're just not his followers. So my question to you is, if you want to find purpose, are you willing to follow him? Because that's where purpose is. I've never met one person who follows Jesus genuinely and feel unfulfilled when obeying what Jesus tells them to do. Every time I felt that God asked me to maybe pray for someone or talk to someone or go somewhere and talk to someone and just listen to their story and try to bless them, I've never felt like, man, I wish I wouldn't have done that. Man, I'm just missing so much purpose in my life right now, bro. I'm just not feeling it right now. I've never felt that way. The problem is we have too many mirrors. So what's a mirror in your life right now that you have to lay down and you have to pick up your cross? because I want to describe the cross this way, and it's been described this way many times before, and I've heard it, is the cross goes two ways. It goes vertically and horizontally. That means that if you start putting down your mirror and laying down your mirror in areas of your life, like your relationships, even your finances, your education, even when it comes to yourself, and you start lowering your mirror and picking up your cross, now your new focus is, okay, God, vertically, how can I honor you and glorify you in this circumstance? And then how can I bless others? There you go. That's called purpose. It's just that simple. It's not very complicated. Again, you might say, okay, well, specifically, how does that look like? Just obey God. There are people picking up their crosses all over the world. Those who are doctors, those who are lawyers, those who are policemen, those who are teachers, those who are pediatricians, those who are real estate investors like myself, those who work on Bitcoin, those who work on Amazon, those who work, who knows what job you might have, whatever it is, you can lay down that mirror. It's not about you anymore, and you can pick up your cross. Because the moment you pick up your cross and you decide to follow him, again, an action verb, it's not just to believe in him, and you pick up your cross daily, and you follow him, that's the time that you will have purpose. So in summary, we've talked about how many times this culture is so focused on ourselves and so focused in finding yourself and finding what makes you happy. And that's just code word for putting up a bunch of mirrors and just to whatever circumstance you're like, oh, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Instagram on the wall, who's the most famous of them all? And then in school, and then your relationships, and then with fame and clout and whatever it is, they're all mirrors. But God is saying, hey, you want purpose? Put down that mirror, pick up your cross, deny yourself, and follow me. And when you obey, he will give you directions. Or you can say it this way, as you go, he will show. Because so many times we're like, okay, God, give me the entire plan of my life right now. Give me my full purpose until the day that I die. I don't think God might not do that. He has for some people, but God usually works with giving you one instruction. Do this. Be faithful in this season. Be faithful with what I've given you. Once you're faithful with that, I'll entrust you with more information. But for the moment, very simple. Deny yourself, pick up your cross daily, and follow him. So if you're missing purpose today, you can find it. I said it was simple, not easy, but it's definitely available to you. So lay down your mirror and pick up your cross, and I promise you, you will find purpose. We'll see you in the next episode of The Andrew Roman Show.